Hey friends, and welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. It's like such a rainy, cold Sunday today. It definitely feels like fall. I definitely had some pumpkin spiced goodness today. It was very delicious. I hope you had some too. I'm not sure. It seems like it's snowing in a few places too out west and in the Midwest and Colorado. So everyone's been, feeling the chill. Winter is coming, and I wanted to talk today because this has been so surreal moving back to my hometown. So this whole idea of the traditional versus the millennial. And I don't even feel like it's like traditional path or artistic path anymore. Like I truly feel that there was this traditional thought, this comparison thing that we keep doing, this thing that we just, this weight and this pressure that like accomplish X, Y, and Z, and that is what you're supposed to do, bop, 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 and that's it. And I just feel like things are evolving and things are changing. And even my hometown, I came back here and I keep saying to people, I left 15 years ago. I left when I was 17. It is not the same town. So when we look generationally speaking, it's not the same. The world's not the same. The problems aren't the same. We're probably not in the same war. The country doesn't think the same. We don't have the same presidents. We just, our values are changing. Life is changing. Things are evolving. So traditional versus a millennial, I mean, I don't even like to categorize myself with like Gen Z. I'm like, well, I'm not one of those. I only got a cell phone when I was in 9th grade. And it's very interesting, but there's going to be so many changes. So I just wanted to talk about like all these things and to just think and rework the word success and like what you want to do with your life and just let you know that I'm here with you. I'm here. I'm having this conversation. If this is something that you're loving already, like if you're like, I am down for this, please take a screenshot really quick. Go ahead and pop it on your Instagram story. Hashtag the luxury of self-care. Save, add me as well, like add my Instagram handle, which is Rumor in St. Petersburg, and I'll have that in the show notes. And if you're not following me already, like shoot me a follow. If you're on YouTube, if you're loving this, again, screenshot that, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell. We just need to like break this down because the pressure is real. Like I can feel it on my shoulders all the time, and living away and being away and becoming an adult and having my own mindset for 15 years of my life is so different. And I know I have some of those conversations with my parents where they're like, wow, like what happened to my little girl in a positive way? Like I'm so impressed with you, or I'm learning from you. And that's freaking awesome. Like, thank you so much. But there are also a lot of other times where it does feel like very heavy and weighted and like you haven't accomplished this and you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And it's like, ugh. So let me go over some points, some bullet points that I've been thinking about, some things I took some notes on. And I wanted to start off with, have we ever heard the phrase reach for success? Like reach for the stars, as Woody says in Toy Story, right? Reach for success. Like, what is that? What is the definition of success? Can you tell me? Please tell me, because my definition of success is different than your definition of success. It's different than my parents' definition of success. And it like looks one way to me and completely different to someone else. So like, let's erase that word and just remember it's different for you, and that's okay. So that is like my first step here. And I just want us to like think about that and just to not be afraid to dream. Like we dreamed so much as kids, and I've been working on this with my coach so much. What did 10-year-old Stasi think? Didn't 10-year-old Stasi know that like nothing stood in her way? Anything was possible. The world was her oyster. Yes, like why do we lose sight of that? And like we lose this like inner child syndrome, we lose it over time. And I talked about that with Patrick when I had him on the podcast as well. All this mindset of like MoveNat that he was doing, and how being an inner child and just seeing a log and knowing you can pick the log up or jump over the log or go under the log, and we lose that creative mindset. We lose that playfulness and that inner child, and like that is something we need to release. Be stupid, be weird, be messy, be funny. I mean, I don't know, just be yourself, and like don't put a mask on, and don't not a physical mask right now with COVID, but like don't put, you know, that fake face on when you leave your house every day. Like be authentic you, be creative, be unique. Find that inner child and let her, him, or however you identify yourself shine. Like shine bright, my friends. And being creative and like being messy and not settling is how you're going to live a prosperous life going through this, moving from that non-traditional, doing something that you love, like whatever that is. It's going to be successful because you are passionate about it, you care about it. So like do not settle, be messy. Every time I get on like live or Instagram, or I put together a story or whatever, I always do this like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and like press play. And that's a Mel Robbins thing. So it's just like basically like a mind trick. So you just like kind of get yourself ready and you let out all the judgment and then you just like go for it. Like, and it's already press play. We've already gone for it. So just be obsessed with that dream, whatever it is. Like write it on a Post-it note, put it somewhere, I have like a little box. It's like my dream box. And I would like put all the little favorite things and I would intermittently change it out as the year went on as I accomplished them. Or sometimes I like write it on my, I write it up top on my mirror. And I'll just like have it on my mirror. Sometimes I have like Post-it notes all over the place. Wherever you need it, in your journal, on your phone, on your notes on your phone, like put something down there and just like dream big and don't be afraid of that. Another thing too, so our potential really only increases with age. Do you notice how like different you were maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, definitely 15 years ago? And remember that like as you're aging, as you're learning, as you're evolving, you're only increasing with age, like a fine wine. Like we're like a fine wine. The older we get, the more experience we get, the more knowledge we get, the more we learn, the more we listen, the more self-experience we have, life experience we have. We're a fine wine. We taste better with age. It's great. Like just use that. You're better with age. And I think just like getting older should like stimulate us. Like I am more of a sponge now. I constantly say I'm forever the student, and like being that sponge and soaking up knowledge, it can be great, and it'll take time, and it's a daily habit to like soak up more knowledge. And we have to enforce that like anything. It's like the first week of a cleanse is hard, and then the second week it's a little bit easier and then by the third week it's habit. Like, and you're craving the things on that. So that is the way of doing that. Like, you're not just gonna have a dream tomorrow and then expect it to happen. That's not a thing. So just remember that it's going to take time. So patience is a virtue. Grant yourself grace, which is something that I always have trouble with. Be grace, like find the grace in where you're at, because it's going to take time. Patience is something that I thank God my boyfriend has helped me learn a little bit more and more, and I'm still not the most patient person, but it takes time. So just training to become incredible. It's going to take time. I say this a lot, like for a lot of my friends that are transitioning out of theater and like looking for other work and stuff like that, you're not overnight going to be just as successful as you were being on Broadway. Like it took time to be on Broadway, or it took time to book that national tour, that cruise ship, or get your union card, your equity card. So it's going to take time to be successful in the next dream or the next thing or this next step of life. And it just takes time. It takes trial and error. You're gonna fail. It's okay. But because you're obsessed with this new dream, because you're excited about it, because you're passionate about it, you're going to keep going. You're going to keep waking up every day. You're going to get better, and you're going to freaking nail it. And another thing too, like let me take a little sip of my liqueur. I'm so thirsty today. Another thing I just think is like being spontaneous. And this is something that I was such a planner, and I learned to be a little bit more spontaneous in life. And guess what? Like things started to happen. Because if you wake up and you do the same thing every day, like if you're in the dating scene, If you're doing the same exact thing every day with nothing new or nothing different and never meeting anyone new, how the hell do you expect to find a new partner? Right? Because like you're doing the same thing. So it can be small moments of spontaneity. You can just like go to a new coffee shop. You can strike up a conversation with a stranger in that coffee shop. Now, don't always expect that you're going to get a date from that, but it's just these little things. I used to always like walk on different trails, and anytime I would be on like a trail or some type of hike, I don't really follow the same path as like the person that's in front of me. And if I'm leading, I'll go different directions and I'll do different things. And you don't always have to stick to the path, right? And I thought about that and I was like, oh my gosh, like I guess I've never really stick to the path, because I am always someone who like jaunts off to like the side or goes around something or jumps over a log instead of following the path around it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like pave your own path, be spontaneous. And like 6-year-old you would go on the playground and like there would be pirates and the floor was lava and like all these crazy things, right? Because we let our imagination soar and we were spontaneous and like anything was possible, and life was unpredictable. So we just need to be ready. We just need to be ready to be spontaneous, because then we'll be able to tackle whatever comes at us, because we'll be so used to like doing something new or doing something different. Here's a big kicker. So traditionalist versus the millennial, and I'm only saying this because I'm looking and thinking about a lot of older generations, and I think both my parents didn't have like a very specific path with their job, but I have seen it in other people my parents' age, and they're just like not happy. And like the reality is like so many adults don't do what they love. And that's kind of sad. Like they just feel like they have to work. And like there's no other way to make money. I'm not saying you shouldn't be working hard. I'm not saying sitting on your bum is going to give you like a nice hefty check, because it won't. But I am saying like if you're working towards something that you love, it's going to continue to grow because you're super passionate about it. If you're showing up to a cubicle every day and you hate your job and you come home and you like are already defeated and you're in a negative state, like I can feel like my glottal fry coming out right now. It just sounds so sad. And it just, if you don't like what you're doing, you're the only one that can change it. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I need to take time to like plan out what it is. If you really, really hate it, like you will go home every night to try to find a way to get out of that if it's something that is that important to you. And it should be, because you deserve to be happy. We only have one freaking life. Like this isn't practice life. This is life. Like this is the only one you got. Once you turn 40, the 30s are gone. Once you turn 30s, the 20s are gone. Did you do it the way you want to? Do you have regrets? Do you wish you did more? Are you happy? Like, do what's going to make you happy. So don't get stuck in something that makes you miserable. Like start to evolve and set that plan, take that spontaneity, and let's get you on a new path. So that is another thing. My dad used to say that he would have pursued modeling and acting, but he didn't have the guts like I did, which is really interesting because, you know, there were plenty of times I was outside of an audition room and I was like very stressed out or my heart would beat, and I wasn't always the best auditioner. Like I definitely had my times where I've had some good stories where they didn't go over so well, but I think it was always scary. I think it's always been scary to fight for what you love, to fight for a passion, to fight to be the best, to fight to prove to others that you're worth hiring. It's a lot. It's a lot of, it can create a lot of self-doubt. And you have to have a thick hide, and you will develop that thick hide, but like everyone is capable of developing a thick hide. So don't be afraid of that. Have those guts. If it's something that you're truly passionate about, go for it. I just think that the older that we get, we look around and it seems to become easier, and like don't fall for that trap. Like it should always be hard. It should always be difficult. You should always be learning. You should always be leaping for more. So just don't settle. Like don't settle for average, because you're so much more than that. Your potential is so much more than that. I know it is. I know your potential is more than that, and I need you to remind yourself of that every freaking day as you're trying to figure out how to get out of something that you don't love, or to continue down the path of something you do love but you're struggling through it, because it doesn't happen overnight. So another good thing, this is something that I'm definitely a culprit of sometimes, is people talk more than they listen. And how many times have you seen a conversation where people are talking at one another? They're basically saying something and then just waiting for the person to stop speaking so then they can say something else. I've definitely done that. We've all done it. Like, no one's a saint, but try not to do it all the time. Listen, learn, be a sponge. Allow yourself to not have the answer. Be okay with not knowing. There's so many times where people will ask you something and they're like, have you seen or have you read? And you're like, yeah. Or maybe not every time I say, yeah, I'm lying. But yes, like, oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. If you don't, like, it's okay. Just say, actually, I don't. Enlighten me. I love that word. I use that a lot. Enlighten me. Tell me. I'm sure. Tell me more. That's a great thing. Listen, learn. Like, when you're finding yourself like thinking about what you'd rather say, stop and just say, okay, I need to listen to this person instead. You may learn something. I promise, actually, you will learn something. You will learn something, even if it's just learning to listen in that moment. Yeah? Just like anything else, practice makes perfect. I was saying that. So, like, culturally speaking, it's so interesting how we applaud creativity so much. We applaud TV. We watch all this TV. Where does that come from? Creative minds. We watch theater. We go to be entertained by musicians. Creativity is so applauded, but yet it's so demeaned as a choice of profession. You're going to be a starving artist. You're gonna play guitar the rest of your life. Like, what are you doing? Like John Mayer or whatever. If John Mayer would have never like been an artist, went for it, he would, like, where would we be without John Mayer? I mean, we'd still have great music, but that's sad, right? It's crazy to think, where would we be without the Lin-Manuels of the world to create shows like In the Heights and Hamilton? Where would we be without the Catherine O'Hara's and Dan Levy's, and Schitt's Creek would have never existed. It's like, just think about that. So the society really applauds creativity so much. So if you have a creative mind, like, don't say like, oh, well, I can't do that because it doesn't prosper money. It will eventually. I promise you it will, because you have a great idea and you're going to put everything you have behind it and you're going to nail it. Booked and blessed. I promise you. Because you care about it, because you're passionate about it, because you want to see this dream come to life. And in that, remember that we can't change our parents. And I mean, I say this all the time. There's a lot of times that I feel like I disagree with my parents, but how many times have I heard them, and maybe you haven't heard this, but I also have heard my parents so many times too, like, bitch about their parents. And we all love each other. I love them so much. Families are such an interesting thing. But as I'll be a parent one day too, probably. And if you're not a parent already, or you want to become a parent, it's going to be the same thing. It's just going to be this whole situation where we're kind of just, oh, well, you should be blah 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 blah. But I think we need to more say, oh, okay, like, and support. Right? And like, let us fall on our face on our own. Let us learn our own things. Like, we can't save everyone from making every scratch or every bruise, or they're never going to learn to be careful, right? Like our children, where they're never going to learn to be careful if we're constantly like holding their hand. They're going to fall. They're going to get scratched. They're going to get hurt, but like, they're going to be okay. They're going to survive. They're going to heal, right? Just like a scab. So it should be the same thing. Just constantly be supportive to your youth, to whoever's underneath you, because I know that my grandparents drive my dad crazy, and I know my dad drives me crazy, but it's like, it's not that we love each other any less. It's just that we are preempting like our thought process of like how we want to do things on the next person. And what we have to remember is like, we're not all the same. We all have different thoughts and different opinions, and we're going to live our life differently. And like, that's good. Diversity is good. Diversity is what's going to continue to evolve us as a species. Diversity is what's going to continue to evolve our technology. It's going to continue to evolve our conversations. It's going to continue to evolve our job opportunities, our job placements. Like, be creative. It's okay. And it's sometimes hard because like your parents will say stuff and you're like, okay. And sometimes you just kind of have to zip it and just like let it go in one ear and let it go out the other. And to say that, not even with parents, but like, as T Swift says, and I'm not even the biggest fan of her, but it's true. Haters are going to hate. They're always going to hate, but guess what? They're just like background noise. They are. You don't have to let them come forward. Keep them back there. Just know that if you focus and stay true to what you believe, eventually they're probably going to come to you to ask questions. They will. It's very interesting. Jessie J had even said that. I remember like listening to a documentary on her, and she said that people like reached out to her later in life and were like, "Hey girl," and she's like, "You were an asshole in high school. Peace." Like, so it's just very interesting how, you know, people can constantly make fun of you or dishearten you or disagree with what you're doing. But like in the end, when you're successful, they're going to be coming and knocking on your door. I promise you. I promise you they will. And I just think that like it is your version of happiness. You can't let anyone rob you of that. If you're happy and someone's testing that, just say, "Look at me. Do I seem happy?" Just, do I seem happy? And if they kind of like acknowledge us, just say, answer the question. Do I seem happy? Please don't rob me of that happiness, right? Like, don't rob me of that. And they shouldn't. And if it's someone that like truly cares about you, they'll listen. It might take a second. Just keep reminding them of it. Just say like, "I'm happy." Like, remember, I'm happy. So definitely that. But yeah, create a life that you want for yourself, because if everyone else is happy for you, but you're not happy in your life, then like what's the point? Like, if everyone's happy with the life that you've created, but you're not happy, like at the end of the day, you're not happy and it's your life. So create the life that you want, because we often try to like find our purpose. And the reality is like we hold the paintbrush. Like every day make a stroke, or make 50 strokes, or maybe today you just sit back and ponder the strokes you've already created. But like, be your own Degas, your own Monet, be Michael Angelo and paint the Sixtine Chapel. Like, do whatever you want, but you have the paintbrush. You are creating the masterpiece that is your life. Yeah? So hold on to that. Like, this is your life. No one else's. So no one can tell you how to paint your picture. No one can tell you if it's pretty or ugly. It's yours, and you get to decide. So be infatuated with whatever your purpose is, or just be vanilla. Be Obsessed or Be Average is a book. I'm using my own version of this. So like, be infatuated or be vanilla. And I just think, I'm not saying vanilla ice cream isn't good or the flavor of vanilla is bad. It's just, I don't know, for me, it's a little average. And I know that like, if I have vanilla, I want a million other things in it because I want more. And I'm infatuated with more things being put in my life, things that are better. Like, I could have this little box, or I could have this like big, beautiful box with all these diamonds and gems and sparkles and color on it. So whatever that is for you, which again isn't going to be the same as it is for me, like, be infatuated with that. So like, dream big, be the millennial, not the traditional. And even if you're living in a traditional life, I'm not harping on that. I think that's beautiful. I just think that you have still made some choices within that traditional life, I promise you, that like aren't exactly the same as your parents. Yeah? So keep evolving, keep growing, and just dream big. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. Cozy up with a glass of wine tonight. You deserve it. We are moving into this fall season very abruptly. So I will see you all on Thursday. Look out for the newsletter. If you don't know what the newsletter is, then click on my Linktree account on my Instagram. Join the newsletter. Very simple, super easy. And you'll see what last week's was. And then you can just click on the top, join the newsletter, and subscribe to this channel. Again, remember, if you're on Apple Podcasts, throw me that 5-star rating. give me a review. It truly helps me grow this show. I know a lot of you like to listen to this show, and I'd love, love, love to start to expand that rating so we can get the word out and get more people listening to the show, because like, this is my dream. This is my baby. I love putting time and effort into this, and I'm so happy to have you all here listening and tuning in each week. I hope this helped you this week to get fired up and to dream big.